We are reconvening from closed session. I would ask our city attorney to report.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. City Council was in closed session this evening on conference with labor negotiator to receive an update on negotiations with our labor groups. There's no reportable action on that item. Council is also in closed session conference with legal counsel on anticipated litigation, and there's also no item to report on that item as well.
Thank you. Roll call.
Councilmembers Powers. Here. Singleton. Here. Shelton.
Here.
Cruz.
Here.
Payne.
Here. We will have a moment of silent prayer followed by Troop 28 to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Color guard attention. Color guard advance. Color guard halt. Color guard prepare to post the colors. Post the colors. Will you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. 2. Color guard, regroup. Color guard dismissed. Color guard halt. Color guard at ease.
Thank you, Troop 28. A little technical difficulty down on the floor. Okay. City Clerk, if you would read the video statement.
This meeting of the Galt City Council is being videotaped in its entirety and will be cablecast without interruption on Metro Cable 14, the Government Affairs channel on the Comcast and SureWest cable systems. Tonight's meeting can be seen on Channel 14 and will also be webcast at www.sacmetrocable.tv this Friday and Saturday mornings at 9 a.m. Tonight's meeting can also be seen via live video streaming on the city's website at www.ci.galt.ca.us. A VHS copy is also available for checkout from any library branch. Members of the audience wishing to address council should fill out a speaker identification form and give it to the clerk. Please speak into the microphone when addressing council and state your name for the record.
Thank you. I'm looking for agenda approval. Are there any additions or deletions?
I'd like to pull number 4 on the consent calendar.
Number 4. Anybody else? I'm going to pull number 3, E3. We have no presentation.
No presentation.
So we will go to public comment.
Okay, under Government Code Section 54954.3, members of the public may address the council on non-agenda items. Speakers may also address council on any agenda item during consideration of the item. Speakers shall restrict their comments to issues that are within the subject jurisdiction of the City Council and limit comments to a maximum of 5 minutes. Please fill out a speaker sheet located on the table inside the entrances to the council chambers and forward the completed speaker sheet to the city clerk. First, we have Mary Chapman.
Hi, I'm Mary Chapman. I live here in Galt, and I still want to know about the four-way stop sign at 5th and C Street and what good you thought painting an arrow on the street and a double yellow line was going to do.
If I could try to respond to that, I thought that was going to the Public Safety Committee. I think we discussed that. And have you met since?
No.
No.
Liz, could you tell us when the next meeting is? So that, in case Mary Chapman wants to show up. Public is welcome.
I can't hear you.
She's going to tell you when the next meeting is for the public safety.
May 23rd is the Public Safety
When?
Committee meeting. May 23rd.
You're going to wait that long to do anything about that stop sign? You've got a four-way stop sign down at 4th and C where you can see either direction really good. But at 5th and C, you can't see in either direction no matter which way you're going. And you can't put up a four-way stop sign there. And last week you painted an arrow on the street saying right turns only.
It will be addressed at the Public Safety Committee. That is the proper procedure.
I'd appreciate it.
You're welcome.
And could you guys, when you speak to us out here, you would speak into your mics a little louder or get your mic closer to you because we can't hear you.
We will do our best to speak up.
Andrew Meredith. After Mr. Meredith, Jean Davenport.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council. Here tonight because I want to pay tribute to two employees that are going to be leaving the City of Galt. I worked with these employees for several years while I was a member of the City Council, and I've known both of these individuals for quite a long time during my tenure here in the City of Galt. I want to talk first about Boyce Jeffries. When I first started recreation programs here in the City of Galt, I think I was fifth or sixth grade, Boyce Jeffries was always hanging around, making sure that basketball games, football games went off without a hitch. He's been a fantastic employee for the City of Galt, and he's been a great member of our community. Whenever we needed volunteers to help out with the Veterans of Foreign Wars, when I was the commander of the VFW unit here in the City of Galt, Boyce Jeffries was always the first one to volunteer himself and his son to come out and help set up chairs and to help us put off all of our events without a hitch. I think it's very sad to see Boyce leaving. I hope somehow he'll be able to pull through this travesty that's taking place. But I want him to know on the record that there are a lot of people here in the City of Galt that appreciate the work that he's done for the city, for the community, for the organizations in this community. And Boyce, I tell you, man to man, you're going to be sorely missed by the City of Galt.
Thank you, Andrew.
Next, I want to talk about Kurt Campion. I had met Kurt actually when I was in high school, kind of in a roundabout way. Probably doesn't remember anything about me. But when I got on the City Council here in the City of Galt, one thing that I really appreciated about Kurt is he always stuck by his principles, and if he didn't believe in something that the City Council was doing, he let you know that he didn't think it was going to work out. If there was too much commercial space allocated in the general plan, and he didn't think it was going to work, he'd pop right on the line and, tell the City Council, this doesn't seem like it's going to work. I know this is the vision that you guys have, but I don't think it's going to work. And I think Kurt, over his 27 years, Kurt, or 26 years, he's always operated under those principles. One thing that a lot of people don't know about Kurt is Kurt was the mayor of the city of Paradise, California, at I believe the age of 21 years old. Young man. So he learned city government from the other side of the aisle before he became a department head, before he started working with rank and file employees. And I think that made him an extremely well-rounded employee. I think that's why he had the courage to stand up when he didn't believe in something. And sadly, I think that that's one of the reasons that he's been put in the position that he's in today. And I think the five of you sitting up there know that. I want to draw attention, since we're talking about this travesty that's taking place, to the article that was in the Galt Herald several weeks back. And I did send a letter to the City of Galt. I know all of you read it. Sadly, I didn't get a response from a single one of you. But I want to key on key in on one specific point here in this article. City Manager Behrman went on to explain that in addition to keeping layoffs to a minimum, that he also targeted older, more experienced employees who he felt had a better chance at other options and landing on their feet. Mr. Rudolph, I hope you've got your trial suit pressed and dry cleaned because you're going to need it. If that isn't blatant age discrimination, I don't know what is. I mean, and it's in print in the newspaper. And I know that there had to be a dramatic gulp that went through the department heads' mouths in the city of Galt when they read that in the newspaper. Because it was really a sign of disrespect to the older, experienced employees here in the city. To take your personal opinion about these employees landing on their feet and using that as your basis for making decisions about who goes, or at least making that the explanation that you give to the city of Galt, the residents in the city of Galt, is sad. It's truly sad. It's sad because these two men have dedicated nearly 60 years of their lives combined to the city of Galt and to its residents. It's a sad day for the city. What got even worse is when you got a little farther down into the article, it said, while waiting to reveal which positions would be targeted at the March 1st council meeting where the early retirement offers were first revealed, council was, according to Behrman, aware of the positions he had targeted via private phone calls made to each council member by himself, in which, according to Behrman, all 5 were informed of and agreed to his budget balancing plans. This is not the way to make decisions. I understand that the city manager has employee responsibilities under him.
Time's up.
I'm finishing my
your
sentence.
comment.
But what this was a budget line item. The elimination of positions is a budget line item that should have been discussed and decided on in front of the public. Thank you.
Jean Davenport, after Mr. Davenport, Randy. Wherever Randy is.
I'm Gene Davenport. I live in the city of Galt, and I'm here to really expound on the displeasure of a lot of people about the way this council is operating now and what the city manager is doing. There's no doubt in my mind it's some sort of power grab, and I don't know, I think it's by Jason. I really do. The fact that he will eliminate 2 positions of people that they've been nothing but good for this city. I don't think you'll find a better individual than Kurt to lead that office. I don't think you can do his job, personally. And Boyce has been here for a long time, and he grew up in this town, and he's been here from day one. And the way you eliminate a position is just short of embarrassing. And it is to a point where, I'm tired of the backroom deals that are made and the way things come about to the city after the fact, so to speak. There's an oversight group in California called Call Aware. And I'm going to notify them after tonight to look into the way you guys have been handling open meetings and how many Brown Act violations that I feel that are ongoing from this body. It's insulting. The fact that in the paper, I mean, the things that Mr. Meredith hit on in the paper about statements, the fact that there was a statement that the city contacted all the landowners about the property they wanted to buy downtown. It's not true. You didn't contact all the landowners. None of them are interested. Most of them aren't. And to say they are is misleading and wrong. You're trying to sell something before it comes up. That's wrong. It's just wrong. That's not the way we're supposed to be here. We're supposed to be open. You guys were elected by us to represent us and to make good decisions for us, not your ideology. You bring your ideology to the table too often, and it's not right for the whole. And it's got to stop. It really has to stop. I don't agree with the way things are going. I don't agree with him in the forced retirement. I don't agree with Boyce in the forced retirement. And he gets to hire an assistant. What's up with this? What's up with that? He gets to hire somebody to help consolidate power so he can do it. If I insult you, I'm sorry, Jason, but the fact of the matter is I'm angry about this. I think it's wrong. This guy is good. Mr. Campion is one of the best city employees I think you guys have. Boyce has been running Parks and Rec for how many years? And you're going to do better than him? I don't think so. And that's what it's going to end up. You're going to be the guy to go to now. I think it's just wrong the way we're going about this. And seriously, there's a link to this Call Aware, aware. Go to them, because I'm going to contact them tomorrow. I've already been in this preliminary discussions with them, because they really need to look into this, and I really think you are going to be going to court pretty soon. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Randy Hanworthson. After Randy.
Randy Hunwertson, City Galt. Regarding what Jay was talking about, I'm not really I'm in favor of getting rid of as many government employees as we can, but you know, concerning the Brown Act, for one, the last time we were here, Mr. I forgot your last name, came up here with the law book right here, reading directly out of it, and then Mr. Rudolph gave his opinion. I just want to make sure that everybody knows that that's what it is his opinion, and it doesn't necessarily carry any more weight than all of our opinions at the ballot box. And that's all I have to say on that subject. The other subject I want to talk about is a few months ago we spent, I'm not sure how many thousands of dollars on the license plate camera systems for the police cars. And just curious as to how that's panned out so far, how many recovered vehicles we've had, or where do you go to find that information? And then on the third note, I'm a member of the Tea Party. We're not going away. We're getting stronger. And we've decided in our local Tea Party here to make a focus of local government, because that's where it's going to start. I do appreciate the fact that Ms. Powers read the Constitution. Would have been nicer if you'd have read it before you took the oath to uphold it. But we're making progress. I appreciate it out in the lobby out there too. That's nice. We'll take baby steps, but we'll get there. Thank you.
Thank you. Randy, I would say, and answer your question for information, I think our police department would be happy to meet with you to give you that answer.
Jim, you can get with Mr. Howardson and provide that information as far as, or just an update on the license plate reader system in general. That'd be nice. It's been how many months now since we've had that in operations? 3 or 4 months?
Yeah, I think about 3 months. Yep, I'll do that. I'll bring back some information.
Rick, did you have a speaker sheet in? No. Okay. No, that Rick. Okay. You brought some up. I just want to make sure I didn't miss you. No problem.
Would you read the consent calendar, please?
I will. We have 6 items. The first item is approval of the minutes of the special and regular meeting of April 5th, 2011, and the special meeting of April 7th. Number 2, approval of the City of Galt warrants. Number 3, which was pulled and will be discussed, agreement between the City of Galt and the County of Sacramento for enforcement of regulatory compliance with National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System permit. Number 4, which was also pulled and will be discussed, regarding the 16th Annual Galt Strawberry Festival request, which is a request to provide comments to staff for use of the Galt Market grounds and the Veterans Fields for the 16th Annual Strawberry Festival, and approve a rental fee of $1,500 and waive all other fees associated with the festival. Number 5 is adoption of an ordinance repealing and replacing Chapter 18.24 of the Galt Municipal Code regarding combining zoning district regulations and specific plans. And number 6 is adoption of ordinance number 2011-03, repealing and replacing Chapter 18.52 of the Galt Municipal Code regarding general permit procedures.
Thank you. I pulled item number 3, so with your permission, I'll go ahead and take it in order. Hopefully there's someone here that can answer the question. In the packet, it talks about the county will be doing the inspections, and they will be setting the fines and that type of thing. Do we have any idea what the guidelines are?
Let me turn it over to Public Works to answer that question.
The council entered an agreement back in 2010 to partner with the county and other cities within the county for a stormwater partnership. We're covered under it's a countywide stormwater NPDES permit. It's more effective for us to provide these services through a partnership with the county. They have a fee ordinance set by the county which covers their cost to come out and perform these type of inspections. Their ordinance, the county's ordinance, the stormwater program and NPDS permit provide guidelines for the implementation of penalties if in fact there are violations. I don't have them all with me tonight.
Okay.
But they're very well established in guidance. It's all under the overall guidance of the Regional Water Quality Control Board. We spent a lot of time talking about all the regulations on the stormwater side, or they just have as many regulations on the stormwater side.
Now, will these inspections be on existing businesses or future businesses?
They'll be on both. They're currently on any existing business, commercial, industrial, or any businesses. Could include home occupation if we believe they fall under certain categories relative to pollutants. Usually we're looking at businesses that would potentially have runoff from parking lots or other business enterprises where they may be a danger or a risk to the environment through some kind of stormwater runoff. And so if a new business came into town that fell into one of those same categories, then they would fall into the same program.
And the reason that we're contracting with the county is because we don't have anyone that has the qualifications to make those inspections.
At the time, we'll have anybody that's well versed and well trained in doing this. It's a continual upgrading of regulations and following what the changes at the regional board. And the county can do it a lot more efficient, doing it on a county-wide basis. They have employees that can cover the inspections county-wide. And so we're taking one body or two bodies and splitting them up into all the cities in the county, rather than having to have one person here relegated mostly to doing that with the businesses.
And they're not charging the city of Galt for
They're not charging the city of Galt directly. The fees are charged directly to the businesses. The only costs to the city are for us to do our share of what's in the agreement, which is coordination with the county. We do provide some educational materials when they do their inspection. We have to make sure our ordinance is updated. We put a lot of money in our stormwater budget for membership through this program. So those costs are covered through the budget, but this particular contract, there is no cost associated with it directly to the city.
And if someone wanted to know approximately what the fees are, they could contact the County of Sacramento.
They can contact County of Sacramento. They can contact us in Public Works. We help them find the information.
Okay, thank you very much. With that, I would move to approve.
I'll second.
Thank you. Favor? We don't need a roll call, do we?
It's a resolution. Sure, yeah, let's do a
Your roll call, okay.
Vice Mayor Powers? Aye. Councilmember Singleton?
Aye.
Councilmember Shelton?
Aye.
Councilmember Cruz?
Aye.
Mayor Payne?
Aye. Okay, Councilman Singleton, you pulled item number 4.
Yes, I just pulled item number 4 because I'm going to recuse myself from discussion and voting on this subject, as I am part of the Strawberry Festival Committee with the Chambers, and I will also be doing some work for them, so I don't feel that it would be fair to me to vote on this. So if you guys would discuss and vote as you please.
Will he have to leave?
No. When you recuse yourself on an item on the consent calendar, you do not have to leave the room.
Okay. Then is there a motion on that item from any other council member?
I motion we accept.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call?
Vice Mayor Powers? Aye. Councilmember Shelton?
Aye.
Councilmember Cruz?
Aye.
Mayor Payne?
Aye. Item passed. The remainder of the consent calendar, is there a motion to approve?
I make the recommendation we approve the remainder. Sorry. Okay.
The motion was made by Councilman Shelton, and the second was made by Vice Mayor. Roll call vote, please.
Vice Mayor Powers? Aye. Councilmember Singleton?
Aye.
Councilmember Shelton?
Aye.
Councilmember Cruz?
Aye.
Mayor Payne?
Aye. Consent calendar is approved. We will move on to scheduled matters. Would you like to read that?
I will read it. All right. Cosumnes Community Services District public hearing on adoption of a resolution approving the Nexus study to update the fire fee program final report, August 23rd, 2010, and adoption of fire impact fees.
This requires a public hearing, but will we hear from the staff before the public hearing?
Thank you. Madam Mayor, members of council, members of the public. The item before you tonight again is an update of the fire impact fees for the community, or Cosumnes Community Services District. As indicated in the staff report, fire impact fees were first adopted in 1989. The fees for single-family units at that time were $225. Today, under the current program, in the city, they are $336 for a single-family unit. I'm just using that by way of example because most of the discussion occurs around single-family units. There have been no major updates in this fee program by the City of Galt since 1989. As you are aware, in 2006, the Galt Fire Protection District and the Elk Grove Community Services District merged to form the new Community Services District, Cosumnes Community Services District. Shortly thereafter, the Board of Directors requested that their staff undertake an analysis of the fire impact fees for this area, which they've identified as Zone 6, and you'll note that in the staff report, which is the unincorporated area of the former fire district as well as the City of Galt. That study was completed and accepted by the fire board, by the district board in December of last year, or excuse me, September of last year. In October of last year, at the request of the mayor, we held at the, we invited the fire district personnel to make a presentation at the mayor's forum, which was attended by members of the development community as well as members of the public. One of the concerns that was discussed at that time was the dramatic increase that was being proposed under the new fee schedule for particularly single-family residents. In response to that, the district came back and they have, as you note in the staff report, there's a phase-in program. They're looking at establishing the first rate increase July 1 of this year, and then there would be increases every 6 months until January 1 of 2014. The current fee, or the fee at on January 1, 2014 would be $1,473 plus any construction cost indexes that would have occurred through that same time period. So it is a rather significant increase. For purposes of the other categories, multifamily is about $327, is $327 currently. It would go to $970. They do have a provision for age restricted, which is a reduced rate of $684. Commercial and office went from 48 cents a square foot to, will go to $1.12. The only area that went down was industrial, and it was reduced from 71 cents a square foot to 64 cents. Further, this study, and the study that was commissioned by the CSD, evaluated future needs based on increased population and increased commercial area within the entire district boundary. We are in Zone 6. There are 5 other zones. Most of those surround the city of Elk Grove and in various areas. When you look at what the total costs were, there was, I believe, about $67 million in proposed improvements to serve. I think it's a population build out of about of an additional 30,000 people and about 28 million square feet of industrial and commercial space. They then looked at, okay, what will our facility needs be? That being new stations, new equipment, expansions, renovations, and that was all included within the study. The analysis then determined what those costs, fair share costs, would be attributable to new development, and that is the basis of the fee. Similar to all of the fee studies that the city has done in the past, as a matter of fact, we've used the same consultant. The city, or the CSD, cannot levy the fee, and that is why they are coming before the city. They are asking us to levy it for purposes of development within the city of Galt, and we would only levy those fees. In the county area of the former district, the Board of Supervisors last month adopted their fee schedule, and which has never had fees levied in the unincorporated area. The city of Elk Grove did theirs, I believe, in December of last year. They actually saw a decrease on some of theirs simply because of the estimates that were done as part of the study. One last item, and it is noted in the report, as part of the City of Galt and the district's settlement agreement regarding the redevelopment agency plan update. Part of that, there is a provision that reads that if the district pursues such a study as this, and the city opts not to implement it, then the district has the ability to challenge decisions made by the city with regard to new developments, particularly relative to the impacts on fire and fire services. If the fees are not in place, obviously they believe that would be an impact. They would have the ability to challenge us. Conversely, if the impact fee is put into place, that barrier is removed and they could not challenge the city under that basis. Fees that are collected, 100% of it are passed through. They go directly to the district, with the exception of 1.5% that would go to the city as an administrative fee. That is built into this fee program as it exists tonight. That concludes my report. Unless there are any questions, staff recommends that you adopt the resolution that makes the findings that the project is exempt from CEQA, adopts the study, and implements the fees as presented. Any questions?
I think we'll go to public hearing.
Excuse me. The district has a presentation for you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the council. My name is John Ebner. I'm the business officer with the Cosumnes Fire Department. It's my pleasure to present our Cosumnes CSD Fire Impact Fee Program 2011, along with the Fire Chief Tracy Hansen. I want to thank Kurt for doing an excellent job of giving my presentation. Just an overview. The Fire Impact Fee is a fee that's assessed on new development and growth that allows the fire department to build infrastructure that's needed as a result of that growth. These are the fire stations, the new growth fire stations, the apparatus that goes inside those fire stations, and district-wide facilities, like our training facility and our fleet maintenance facility that service the entire fire department. We have a long history of building fire stations in the Elk Grove area. The original method was by utilizing property taxes to build stations as they were needed, but the advent of Proposition 13 in 1987 kind of restricted the amount of property taxes we could use for that. As most public agencies are aware, property taxes were sort of used just for operational expenses. So we embraced a few other ideas for building new growth stations and facilities. We used specific plan provisions in Elk Grove, particularly in the western area of the city as it developed in the late 1990s and early 2000s. These provisions allowed developers to contribute funds for infrastructure development. We built a number of stations in that area, but it had a drawback in that there were gaps in the district where people could build facilities, an office building or a house that did not contribute to the fee program or to any of the fire stations that were built that would service those areas. So in 2006, we employed Goodwin Consulting Group to come in and build a district-wide program with a nexus study that has worked very well for us in the intervening years. And so here we are in 2011, updating that fire impact fee program to include the former areas of the Galt Fire Protection District, as Kurt mentioned. We reorganized with the Galt Fire Protection District to create the Cosumnes Fire Department in late 2006, or I should say the Cosumnes CSD. And we inherited a fee program here in Galt that included the city of Galt but did not include the county of Sacramento areas. No fee program there. There is a methodology to the fee, the way it's developed. This is Fee Methodology 101. There'll be a quiz when I'm finished. I hope you brought your number 2 pencils. The first thing we do is estimate future development and growth using growth projections from the various local agencies that we deal with. We identify the needed infrastructure that we as a fire department will need to service those new growth areas. And then we establish a cost of those facilities. We estimate the total persons served, allocate the total persons served to both residential and non-residential development, whether it be commercial. You have residential population as well as new jobs population that we have to serve. We calculate a fee per residential unit or commercial square foot, and then we calculate fee credits. These fee credits are related to the specific plans I mentioned earlier, the specific plans that have already given money to help develop some of the fire stations in that western area of Elk Grove. It does not actually relate to the city of Galt. The planning resources we utilize would be the Galt General Plan 2030, the Elk Grove General Plan 2003, SACOG and County of Sacramento population projection estimates would be utilized as well. We create our nice little CSD map here, that northern area being the former Elk Grove Community Services District. The yellow area is Zone 1. It's the largest zone. It encompasses most of eastern Elk Grove and the southern areas as well. The colored areas, Zones 2 through 5, are the specific plans we talked about earlier. And then, of course, tonight we're talking about Zone 6, which is the gray area to the south. The city of Galt is outlined in yellow there. It's the smaller portion. You can see the county areas are much larger than the city of Galt, and we service those areas as well. So far, as Kurt mentioned, we've had the impact fee adopted in the city of Elk Grove on December 8th, 2010. The fees went in effect on February 8th of 2011. The County of Sacramento adopted the fees for the first time in the Galt area on April 12th of 2011. They will go into effect on July 1, 2011, which is the same date that they'll go into effect in the city of Galt, should you choose to adopt the fees tonight. Of course, we're talking about Zone 6, the Galt area. Mentioned before, we inherited a fee program that was developed in 1989 through a report known as the Cone Report, which addressed a number of city issues, one of which was the fire mitigation, about 6 or 7 pages related to that. As Kurt mentioned before so adroitly, the fee at that time was $227 per home. It has increased to about $336 per single-family residence, a fee that unfortunately is probably not going to allow us to build a future fire station should growth occur in the manner that the Galt General Plan 2030 suggests. As you know, residential and commercial office fees are increasing fairly dramatically. However, the industrial fee is decreasing because the Cone Report in 1989 placed an emphasis on the type of construction, where our report, our Nexus study, placed more emphasis on people. We certainly value property, but we value people a lot more, and in industrial areas or industrial projects, you generally don't see as many people in the building as you would in a retail or office complex. So the fee is a little bit less in the industrial areas. It's dropping about 10%. We've decided to embrace a phased-in approach, which, truth be told, was City Manager Jason Behrman's original idea in the first few meetings we had as we started to develop the Nexus study and the fee approach. This will allow the fee in Zone 6 to increase every 6 months till the full fee is in effect by January of 2014. There is a construction cost indexed escalator, I should say multiplier, because it doesn't always escalate, sometimes it actually goes down, which it did 2 years ago. That is applied every January in the phased-in approach. But as I mentioned, the fee will be in effect in January of 2014. To take the example of a single-family residence, current fee, $336. It will increase to $660 on July 1. And then every 6 months, it will increase $162. And in January of each year, you'll have a CCI multiplier. By January 1, 2014, the fee will be approximately $1,473, depending upon what the CCI multiplier does in the intervening years. There are fee exemptions that we will apply. Public agencies are exempt, City of Galt being one of them, school board, that sort of thing. As a public agency ourselves, we feel that because we provide a service to the community much in the way that the City of Galt does or the school board, we're going to exempt public agencies from the fee so that they can utilize their tax dollars in the manner that they best see. Any residential additions with no full kitchen added or a granny unit that has no full kitchen, no fee applied. Residential outbuildings, a barn or a detached garage, no fee applied. The fee generally follows the way that fees are applied in the City of Galt. In non-residential areas, if you have a an addition that is less than 500 square feet, no fee is applied, just as it is in the city of Galt. We also have a provision in the fee program that allows the fire department to address unusual projects in a manner that gives us some latitude to either waive the fee or create a fee that is appropriate for that given project. With that, Fire Chief Tracy Hansen has a few comments that she'd like to make. After she's finished, we'll be delighted to answer any questions that you may have.
Welcome.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and members of the council. My name is Tracy Hansen. I am the Fire Chief of the Cosumnes Fire Department. Just wanted to close on John's and Kurt's presentation. We don't take this decision lightly to bring this to you. It's a difficult time to bring something like fees to you for consideration, and we do appreciate that. I want you to know that our outreach in this process was considerable. This has been ongoing for several months. We met with the North State Building Industry Association, and they do not protest the fee, and in fact appreciated both our original efforts in 2006 when we had this fee update in the Elk Grove Community Services District, and again our process as we update this fee in 2011. And they are thrilled with the fact that we had considered them and met with them several times to address their concerns. We, of course, met with the County Board of Supervisors and their staff. As John had mentioned, Zone 6 includes the unincorporated areas that surround the City of Galt, and I know that's a significant issue, and it has been for the city staff and for council that the County of Sacramento pay their fair share relative to the impact on fire resources that 2 stations are housed within the city. And so that was important for you, and we certainly relayed that information, and they certainly considered that. And as was mentioned, they have adopted the fee, and it will go in place in July 1st. We, of course, met with the Elk Grove City Council and their staff. That, as was mentioned, has been implemented, and the fee went into effect in early February. And we have met with the city staff and with council members to address their concerns. The Galt Mayor's Forum, as was mentioned, we attended when Councilman Shelton was the mayor at the time, and there were a number of local Galt development members and members of the general public who were present. I can't say that they were welcoming the concept of increased fees, and I completely understand that. And we certainly were sensitive to the concern of the impact. Again, with a fee that has been in place since 1989 without any significant change, it really kind of justifies the reason why it's jumping so considerably at this point. And we're hopeful that because we will continue to look at that, this will not happen again, and we won't see these kinds of increases. So following the outreach that we had both with the city staff and council and with the County of Sacramento, we did work through that phased-in period and extended the time period, and we're hoping that that will ease some of the burden on impact. And again, the important thing that we have to consider here is that public safety and fire services are important too, and if we do not have a fee structure in place and a method that would help us fund presenting or building those fire structures, buying the new apparatus that we need. Again, this is a one-time fee, a development fee. It's not an ongoing tax. It would be transferred to the parcel owner after the house or the residence or business is completed. It will help us build those structures and help us fund that apparatus. It doesn't go to operations. It's strictly capital. So I urge your consideration and your adoption this evening, and again, we're here for any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Chief Hansen. Thank you. At this time, we will open the public hearing, and after that, we'll have an opportunity for council to ask questions. So, public hearing is now open.
Mike Guthrie, General Park Company, been here since 1980. You know, here about a couple of years ago, we just had to have those fire sprinklers, didn't we? That cost us about $3,000 to $4,000 a house. Just had to have the fire sprinklers because it was going to save lives and so on and so forth. And naturally, we went along with that. Now we just added another $1,000 to the permit. So now we got $5,000 on fire sprinklers. I don't know where it's going to quit. Your fee is around $55,000, $60,000 now. As you know, and I hear maybe we might build a house or two here this month or next month, but you know the last time you built a house was our house in our senior village about 2 years ago. So I just want everybody to think about what it's costing and so on and so forth, because every time you add another $1,000, that's on a normal house, that's $10 on the payment. So then you just disqualify X amount of people trying to buy a house. And as you know, Emerald Park, like Hoffman, like Elliott and so on, we're not building anything. So I just want everybody to know, you just added another 5,000, and here we go. I mean, there's some place we got to think about things like this. And it's very important to the building industry. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Guthridge. Are there any other comments from the audience regarding this issue? If not, we will close the public hearing and open it for comments from the council. Any comments? Anyone?
I have a statement,
Okay.
Mayor. I have met with the developers, the builders. I've met with the fire department. I think they know how I feel about this. I can't, in my heart, in vote for this increase, not this high. I don't think I need to say any more. I think that it does need to be increased some, but the chief knew some time ago. I shared that with her. That anyway, I'm not going to vote for it.
Okay. Appreciate the comment. Any other comments? I have a question then. It seems like in most cases, or maybe in every case except for one, the city of Galt's fees are actually lower than Elk Grove. Right. If you compare them. They are. However, regarding the, I think it's the industrial, it's 55 cents a square foot in Elk Grove, but 64 in Zone 6, which is Galt. Is that, am I reading that right? It's on page 20.
It is correct, yes.
And I was just curious as to why it was higher in Galt. What was, how did that come about?
It's related to the amount of industrial development that is supposed to occur in Elk Grove versus Galt.
And the estimated population of employees that would serve that industrial parcel. So it's based on your general plan's projection of industrial properties and the estimated number of people who would work there.
So are you saying, excuse me, if we had more, then the fee would be less?
That is correct, because it would be spread out, but
Spread out
among
more.
more people, basically.
Okay, thank you very much.
Mayor, I do have a comment.
Okay, Councilman Singleton.
As Mr. Shelton had also stated, I also met with the fire district. I was quite surprised and not happy because they wanted to increase it so drastically so much. But as I said before, there's a compromise, and I think the fire department CSD had come back with a compromise on a phase-in project. At first, they just wanted to give the impact right at $14.73. So it wasn't an easy decision to make, and I'm sure it wasn't easy for CSD either. But I do believe there was a compromise, and both sides gave a little bit. That's all I have.
Is there an opportunity for fees to go down in the future?
Would be in a fluid environment. We're definitely gonna come back with another nexus study if we see that things are going to change. Population projections might change. The fire department needs could change based on those population projections. Certainly, within the next 5 years, we would keep a very close eye on what is occurring in this region and in the communities we serve. And if we see that things are starting to change in a manner that's not consistent with the current nexus study, we will develop another nexus study that updates the fee program in the manner consistent with what we think projections suggest.
Would that be decided by you, or could the city of Galt ask a request that you do another study or at least look at it?
I think we would work with our local partner agencies to keep a constant communication stream, and if the city of Galt would request a new nexus study, we'd certainly entertain that request.
Okay, thank you.
I guess I have one question too. I'm kind of concerned about why the last report was in 1986. What happened within the 30 whatever years? Is there a little?
We really don't know because we were not part of the fire department back then.
Okay.
Any other questions? Would you read the recommendations that we're voting on, or being asked to vote on?
Okay, conduct a public hearing and adopt a resolution. Number one, finding that the project is exempt pursuant to section 15378B4 and 15320 of the California Environmental Quality Act guidelines. And number two, approving the Cosumnes Community Services District Nexus Study to update the fire fee program final report, August 23rd, 2010. And number three, establishing updated fire impact fees to be phased in through January 1, 2014.
And I believe that could be covered in one motion.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, is there a motion from the council regarding that item?
Motion approved.
Is there a second?
Second.
We'll have a roll call vote, please.
Okay. Vice Mayor Powers?
Aye.
Councilmember Singleton?
Aye.
Councilmember Shelton?
No.
Councilmember Cruz?
Aye.
Mayor Payne?
Aye. The motion has passed 4-1. Thank you very much for the presentation from you as well as from our staff. We'll move on to the regular calendar, Public Works Department.
The first one, unmet transit needs findings.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the council. I first want to say I'm very surprised. We're usually toward the end of the agenda. I just looked and we got moved up somehow, so I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Want to get you home early.
One of our strategic planning goals for this quarter is to bring back the findings from the unmet transit needs hearing. And I'm here to do that with you tonight. Each year, the state of California provides Transportation Development Act funds, or TDA funds, to local cities and transit agencies for transportation needs. These are improvement projects or transit studies, also for transit services. As a regional planning agency, SACOG allocates these TDA funds to the various cities, counties, and transit districts. The law requires that these funds first be used for transit operations, for transit capital that are deemed reasonable to meet. Any leftover funds can then be used for local transportation projects, including street and road maintenance projects. The TDA guidelines require that SACOG follow a specific process in making the unmet transit needs findings. And the detailed process is included in your agenda report. I'm going to briefly go through it tonight for the audience. First, SACOG has to adopt definition of an unmet transit need. They also have to adopt definition of what is reasonable to meet. They then establish a Social Service Transportation Advisory Council, or an SSTAC. This is a group of citizens for each county that participate in the unmet transit needs hearing process to assist SACOG staff. This advisory committee is selected by SACOG staff. They participate in the identification of the unmet transit needs. They also help staff determine those needs which are reasonable to meet. The second step is to identify the transit needs.
Greg, before you move on, do you know who those people were on that Social Service Transportation Advisory Council?
I don't, but with me tonight is Mr. Ed Caviello with SACOG. So here is perhaps he can address your question now.
Okay.
Hello, Mayor Payne. I'm Ed Coviello with the SACOG staff. First of all, there's 4 social service transportation advisory councils in our 4-county area. For the Sacramento County Social Service Transportation Advisory Council, in attendance at the meeting in early March at SACOG were representatives from Sacramento Regional Transit, Sacramento County, and then we also had members from the Human Services area at that meeting.
There was no one from Galt?
No, there was none of the members are from the city of Galt. That's correct. Although we are recruiting members for the Social Service Transportation Advisory Council.
As a member and director of SACOG, I was surprised at this. sir?
Yeah, we've had some difficulties maintaining membership on the committees over time, and we're working to address that. So we would be more than happy to have a discussion about, you know, trying to drum up some support to get a resident from the city of Galt on there.
And their responsibility was to decide whether the needs were unmet or not? Is that my understanding?
That's correct. We go ahead and we divide, we take all the comments that we receive, both from the public hearing and from a variety of sources, including just standard mail, email, phone calls, and walk-ins to the SACOG office. And we go through each and every one of those comments that we receive, and we determine whether it's an unmet transit need or whether it's an operational need or a service need, it's also called. And then for the unmet transit needs, we then do the reasonable test, which includes looking at, you know, how many people it will serve, whether it can meet the required fare box recovery ratio, which unfortunately for the city of Galt right now is 20%. So for every dollar that you put in the fare box, you know, that by law, to be reasonable to meet, has to cover 20% of the operations.
And none of the members of that committee were actually here at the public hearing in Galt, is that correct?
No, the member from Sacramento County was here, Ken Klinker, as well as myself.
Okay, I remember him.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I will reserve my comments then until you finish with the report. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Mayor.
We covered the majority of the report. I'll jump back in. The SACOG is only required to have one committee for the 4 county areas. They do have one committee for each county. And for our area, the hearings was for the Galt and the South Sacramento County area served by SAT Link. Although we would love to have somebody from Galt actually sit on the committee. They did have the public hearing for our area on January 25th. It was the best attended hearing that we've had in the 5 years that I've been here. I was very pleased to see more and more people coming out. They go through and do their analysis, looking at what the unmet needs are. Again, as Ed explained, what is reasonable to meet based upon a number of factors. Our fare box ratio runs somewhere about 6%. We're supposed to be at 20, and so we're operating far below what the fare box recovery is supposed to be. And if we don't do something about it, try to improve that, then we can lose our funding, our federal and state funding. The SACOG staff forwards their recommendations to the Transportation Committee. They did that back on April 7th. I included in your agenda package the actual staff report from SACOG to the Transportation Committee. The SACOG board then holds a final public hearing to receive any last-minute testimony regarding transit needs that may be reasonable to meet. That hearing is scheduled for this Thursday, April 21st. The SACOG board then makes one of 3 possible findings. 1, that there are no unmet transit needs, or 2, there are no unmet transit needs that are reasonable to meet, or that there are unmet transit needs that are reasonable to meet. If they make the last one, that there are unmet needs that are reasonable to meet, that means we need to then go back and spend more of our transportation dollars trying to meet those needs. The funding or the finding for Galt and the South County area was that we have no unmet needs that are reasonable to meet. As Mr. Caviello mentioned, we did receive 15 transit and service-related comments at the hearing. One was a complaint about fares, which unfortunately, again, given the fare box ratio, we should be increasing fares to help that ratio, not dropping fares. 5 are returned to be operational issues, not unmet needs. Now, the determination of an unmet need that's not reasonable to meet really is a good thing. It doesn't mean we're going to walk away from that issue and not deal with it, but that means we can use the funding for other streets and road purposes. It's not required that we spend it on transit, but there were a number that were operational issues. 3 were determined to be inconveniences, but not unmet needs. This would be an issue where in order to get from our bus, you have to get a $1 ride down to the 99 service, take that to Lodi to get on the bus to go somewhere else. We agree it's an inconvenience, but in itself is not an unmet need because the need is met. It's just not necessarily exactly when you want to have it. Just like the unmet need, you can't call a $1 ride and expect them to be at your house in 5 minutes. That's why we had some complaints about a 2-hour wait when you called on that same day. That is an inconvenience, but it's not an unmet need. 3 are requests for additional information, and 3 were determined to be unmet needs that were not reasonable to meet. Specifics regarding each of the concerns were included in your agenda package. The final determination, again, is that we have no unmet needs that are reasonable to meet. This will allow us to program the additional funding not needed for transit into the budget for streets and road purposes. For the current fiscal year, we claimed about $167,000 in these TDA funds for streets and road purposes. We are going to continue to coordinate with South County Transit, SCT Link staff, county staff, and SACOG to try to address some of these other issues and the concerns that were raised at the public hearing process. This concludes my report, and I'm sure Mr. Caviello and myself will be happy to answer any questions you might have.
One of the questions that I have, and if you have questions, I'll give you a chance to, but I'm jumping in. I feel very passionate about this item. This committee that decided whether our needs were met or unmet, why was someone in Galt given an opportunity where we notified that there was a vacancy and that they could sit on that committee?
I'm not sure I can give you specifics on that right now, although I can work with my fellow staff member who is in charge of recruiting for the Social Service Transportation Advisory Council, and we can map that out for you as soon as possible.
Because I feel that there's something missing when there was a vacancy on there and it affected the city of Galt, and we didn't have representation. So that would be something that I would be interested in finding out. And as a director at SACOG, I would also like to address that at SACOG, and we'll plan to do so.
Okay. Yeah, we'll work with you on that. And one other option is at the SACOG board, if you don't feel comfortable including the resolution as such, we can shelve that resolution temporarily and work out, your concerns and the council's concerns, and then bring it back to our board.
And what would be the consequences if we did shelve that and work on it?
Well,
are we going to be penalized?
The penalty, depending on how long you would shelve it for, would be that Mr. Halliday could not file his FY 1112 TDA claim request until that finding is met, or brought before the SACOG board. So if it took 1 month, it might not affect Public Works so much, but if it took 3 months,
in plain language, you'd keep our money longer.
Okay.
Yeah, that's not a good thing.
And now we're having the SACOG meeting this Thursday, correct?
Yes, Thursday morning.
So we'd have an opportunity to try to address it at that time?
Yes, or even tomorrow we can.
Tomorrow?
Yeah, I mean, we're ready.
Well, Thursday I think would be the earliest I can make it there.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you can count on it.
Okay, we'll be waiting.
Yeah, we're on the same team, but I just didn't hear everything about what was going on with this, so I would like to address it. The other thing that I was going to say, and Greg, maybe you can help me out, a lot of the things that we had reported from Galt were, I guess you would call them operational. For example, I guess Dora, who we have the contract with, has the policy that, and I think this was reported to happen at Estrelita High School. If one student had called to be picked up at Estrelita, and there were 6 more with him, they would only take the one student that had called in and leave the others there and come back later and pick them up. Now, is that going to be something that's considered operational? Is that something that we would have some control over? Because that doesn't make any sense to me. It doesn't seem practical. And if we're talking about high school students and adults, it's not, to me, it's not a security consideration, which was the excuse or the reasons they gave for doing that. They were talking about little children getting on the bus.
You are correct. It is an operational issue relative to the purposes of this hearing. It's not an unmet need. There is a bus there. The bus has the ability to pick up the children. There's adequate capacity, so it's not an unmet need. In most cases, it is an issue where the children have the ability to have a ticket, have a subscription, know they're being on a list, so the bus driver knows that they're supposed to be picked up. It does create issues, so there is a way to work that out. There are operational considerations with STORE. I just talked to them today about this relative to missing children. Sometimes kids get on the wrong bus. They had the other incident that happened just last week where the school was there, the teacher was there, the student did not have a ticket saying, this is the bus, no, this is the one you're supposed to be. Turned out the child was not supposed to be on that bus. So that child would have been on a bus that none of his parents and no one who had legal custody of that child knew where that child was.
Do they have radios on the buses?
They have radios on the buses, and they do make attempts to try to get a hold of parents. They quite often sometimes will take a child home, and they will not they don't have a specific age, but particularly smaller children, they actually wait to see that they get in the house. If most like high school kids, if someone has a latch key and they have a key, they go in the house, the door opens, they go inside. If that's the case, the kid goes in. If the child is sitting on the stoop, his mom and dad aren't home, they bring him back. They typically take him back to the school. I'm not aware of any instance where they came back around the second time. There are some cases where they'll pick a kid up the very first time. They do attempt to talk with the parents or go back to dispatch to make the parents aware that the subscription ticket and how they need to work the system. It's an issue where STORE is very concerned about the welfare of their smaller passengers, and in some cases it's better to leave them in the custody of the school that the parents know the kids are at than they are to take the kids on the bus when no one knows where they're at. They've had some parents have become very upset because you took my kid, you shouldn't have. And so they're walking both sides of the line. So it's something we're continuing to talk to them about with the county to see how we can best fit all the needs.
And does that policy hold for adults as well as in teenagers, or is it just for small children? Because I was at the public meeting that we had here, and what I heard that this policy pertained to adults as well. If there was an adult that was to be picked up at Rayleigh's, for example, and there were two other senior citizens right beside her that wanted to get on the bus, they would not take her. They would take that person home and then come back around to get the other two.
I don't recall that being mentioned at the hearing. Typically, that would not be the case. There may be some instances based upon ride grouping. If the one person that has a subscription ride is going that way out of town, and the other people want to go that way out of town, they may not take them all at the same time. It may be another bus who's picking up somebody 2 blocks away is going to come in. It may not be the same bus that comes back. They all look the same. People don't notice there's a little number that was different. It may not necessarily be the same bus. They may have to wait for a ride grouping bus. We're trying to be as efficient as we can and take more than one person, so it's obviously in their interest to pick as many people up as are there. The issue about not having a subscription ticket, not being on a list, does not apply to adults. And the drivers use their own discretion as to whether it is, high school kids. If the kids think they have, even though it's still minors, if they still have the means about making the decision, they appear to be independent, then the drivers will pick them up. Particularly a lot of kids, apparently, unfortunately, are latchkey kids. They have keys, they go in the house all by themselves. For that capacity, they're almost acting like adults. But it's the driver's discretion as to, particularly with young children.
Is there an age
As
cutoff?
far as I know, they don't have any particular age, and the drivers, sometimes you can't tell how old the child is by looking at them.
The other thing that I would bring up, and then I'll open it to the other council members, there is discussion at the public meeting that senior citizens or adults could not use the bus during the same time period that the buses were picking up children from school. And I think we have 12 buses. And what I'm hearing is that we need more riders. And it seems like we could come up with a plan where if we have riders that want to use the bus, but they can't because of the students using them, that we could address that issue. I think we could have more riders to fill the needs of the fare box requirements if we focused on service. If we're not going to be able to service the people, they're not going to use it. So then the riders are going to go down, and ultimately we may end up with nothing, is my concern. So,
Let me respond to that. The issue there is to do with a lot with the ridership. With the school district cutting back on their busing, we have a significant increase in students riding the bus. That is a good thing.
it is. I'm glad we're
There is a
taking
peak
care of it.
time, obviously, when that occurs. A lot of the problem occurs when a lot of people do not bother to have a subscription. The CT Link store does not know that they need to have a ride until that morning they get called. And they've already got a bus dispatch for people with reservations to go to a certain location and pick them up. So the bus is not available to deviate because they have set pickup times, and that's where you get a complaint that person has to wait longer, and the complaint comes back to us that they couldn't pick me up because they had a bunch of kids. There is no restriction on having adults in the bus and kids in the bus. We can pick up as many as the bus will hold. We like to have the bus full. There are restrictions on where they go, when they go, in order to meet their 15-minute pickup windows on either side of their time. So if people that are having those difficulties have a subscription, we know there are rides are coming. We will put on additional riders or additional buses as best we can. Now, it does make a lot of financial sense to try to bring a bus on for a 45-minute period in the morning. If we can somehow group the rides, we will certainly try to do that as long as that's an efficient service to bring somebody in just for that, say, a peak hour. But it's tough to have a driver who works an hour from 8 to 9 in the morning, then an hour from 3:30 to 4:30 in the afternoon. They do work some split shifts. We could try to accommodate that. But we need to have subscription rides so we know the rides are there in order to bring the drivers in. Otherwise, we bring the drivers in and they sit with no passengers, and again, that affects the fare box ratio. So the people that are doing that, maybe they could offset their time a half hour, and we can bring the drivers and have them have a full half day or something like that. But it's something that if we have specific needs, the best thing they can do is get a reservation, and then we will fit them in. They will receive the same priority of bookings with the students.
I think everyone here has seen those buses running around with maybe one person on them. So it just seems like there's a way that we could get a better balance. And with that, I will shut up and let somebody else give their opinion.
I may.
Yeah, I may do it. Okay, I'm not pleased with this report at all myself either. I think it's a bunch of rhetoric, and I'm not pleased. I don't really mean to offend. But when you call something an unmet need, to me, that it's not an unmet need, but to me, it's an unmet need. And you have no solutions all the way down on any of this stuff. It seems to me like you're just saying, well, so what? Like, the schedule of pickup and drop off at medical facilities is not good. Well, that is an unmet need, and somebody should be trying to do a little better instead of just telling senior citizens or whatever that they have to go at 9 o'clock in the morning to make their appointment in Elk Grove and sit there for 3 or 4 hours to take the bus home when you're visiting a doctor because you're sick, and, so there's nothing in there's no way you're going to fix it. You just got some rhetoric over here saying, well, we've got a few and it's not working out. So, to me...
I can address that in two parts.
Okay.
Number one, at SACOG, we're working with the City of Galt and Sacramento County right now on a study that's looking at transit operations not only in the City of Galt, but also along the Highway 99 corridor. Among those, and it addresses an awful lot of the issues here, and actually probably in the next couple months, or maybe a little beyond that, we'd like to bring it to you to present. And one of the things we're looking at is trying to serve the South Sacramento County, or South Sacramento Hospital Complex at Kaiser and the Methodist Hospital area as well. And also looking at, better marketing here in the city, et cetera.
So I'm not in favor of accepting this until we see some things that really, if you're working on some things, I'd like to see them done and put in here before I say great, because we have a lot of problems. And I met with Greg in store and Barbara, and to tell you the truth, I wasn't happy with a lot of the way things went. And as we didn't have anyone on Galt working on this, then it's kind of redundant to bring us a report when no one from Galt is having anything to say about it.
Well, I'm working with Greg and his staff as well as with CT Link Now, in the unmet transit needs report that's in front of you, it's a very narrow definition, and that's one of the reasons why the report is presented as it is such, that it's legally constrained on how we can present the information.
Just clarify, so council doesn't box us into something that later we think, oh, we didn't want to do that. Staff is not abandoning these people in terms of what their concerns are. We are continuing to work with the county, SCT Link, and SACOG about trying to find ways to improve the service. Because we're saying it's an unmet need that's not reasonable to meet, or it's an operational concern, that's for this purposes, only for the purposes of this report, which allows us to use this funding, means we don't have to spend it on other transit needs. We certainly can still do that. If council decides that they want to buy another bus and have it go back to fixed routes, for example, was one of the comments that was made. Now, that's economically not feasible, in my opinion. It's the wrong direction for the fare box. But if that is something that council decides that they want to do to have that solve these problems so people would not forget exactly where they wanted to go, council could elect to do that and spend these other funds for this year, $166,000, on that transit service. That would take that money away from another purpose of maintaining the roads. And so council has the right to decide what that priority is. We would also at some point have to deal with the fare box ratio. But for the purposes of tonight of agreeing or disagreeing, this is brought to you really for informational only. The city has a vote on this through the SACOG board. It is not really presented to the council for approval or not approval. It's more for your information to provide some kind of feedback, so council is aware of this in the public, and so the public, it's timely because Thursday night is the hearing at the SACOG board, so you can bring it back at that point. But I would caution council not to approve this, because that would
I know
delay
it's
the
for
funding.
information only. I'm saying I'm not accepting it. I'm not saying I know it's for information only. I'm saying I have a problem with it. And I think that's my right to say I have a problem with it. And my other thoughts are, you know, if you're a nonprofit and you have to, you know, it sounds to me 6% is fair, and sounds like 94% is going to operations then. Is that correct? What's the percentage of?
No, all the monies that are provided, the fare box recovery and the money paid by the city and county goes into the operations. A little bit does go into capital. We have to buy the buses. But that just means that the rides are being subsidized by the city and the county. That means for every dollar, if the ride really costs $1, the person's only paying 6 cents. And the TDA guidelines say that the person should be paying 20%. So it means we're basically over-subsidizing the service, and it's not an efficient service, is what it's saying. And so in order to try to meet that, we have to get the somehow get the ridership up, or drop the service down so only the more profitable ridership. Somehow we have to try to meet that 20%. It is a very ambitious goal, and not a lot of transit agencies meet that.
In fact, I don't think any of them do. Maybe there was just one.
There's only a handful with similar demographics and land uses that can, I can't really think of any in Sac County. You know, I know there are other cities that have that problem, and one thing I would advise is that we work on getting together with other cities in Sacramento County and the county, and also Yolo County, on looking at a legislative change to try to maybe pool into like a county-wide fare box recovery ratio. That way we can weight it on RT's fare box recovery ratio and E-Trans to try to meet that, because it's not realistic to have a 20% fare box recovery ratio for a small town. I mean, 10% is hard enough to get. So that's something that we need to work on.
Thank you. Councilman Singleton, or Vice Mayor, was there anything else you wanted to bring up? Yeah. Okay, Councilman Singleton.
Yeah. Mr. Halliday, my apologies, first of all, because I wasn't able to give you any of my concerns on this. But I do have a few that just come up, so I'm not trying to throw you under the bus, so to speak. No pun intended, okay?
Literally.
Literally. I did happen to sit in on this meeting, and I spoke with some of the folks afterwards. Some of them did relay to me that they felt like they were being tossed aside. I myself, not you specifically, but some members on the SACOG committee, I did not appreciate the way they treated some of our elderly at that meeting, so I want to say that publicly. One of the other comments I had was along the same lines as Mary Lou here, is the medical facilities. It's very important for these elderly to get these medical facilities. And I understand you have a low ridership, or, you know, people have to wait around, but maybe if we improve the service, we can get more riders if they know that the service is improving. To Kaiser, because you had mentioned that, but I think one or two of them might have mentioned Lodi Memorial at the time. So, I was going to take the initiative and speak with Mayor Payne and see if we could talk to somebody at Kaiser about that, but you had already mentioned that you're already working on something.
We're working on that and also looking at options into downtown Sacramento and connecting with medical facilities in the Sacramento area as well.
Okay. I think that we could use better language other than it's not an unmet transit need, because to me, the elderly in our township here, they are important.
Oh, yeah.
They're not an unmet need.
Mm-hmm.
So it's important for them to get to their doctor visits. It's just, to me, the language is pretty strong, and and that's probably what made them feel as though they were being tossed aside. Just really here for President's sake. They didn't really get listened to properly, I don't think.
And I guess I need to say one more thing. I do work with an organization that does give medical transport for senior citizens, but unfortunately there are parameters of what we can do and what we can't do. And we try our hardest to work on all of that, but there's just, some people that don't fit into those parameters, and we also don't have a bus that has a lift.
Is it here in Galt, or?
Yes.
Okay, I'd like to talk with you.
Can I just make a quick comment? I know there's a lot of concerns about the current, the transit service provided and some of the needs of the seniors and so forth in the community. I think one of the challenges is this process, this unmet transit needs process, is a federal process. It's an annual process. It's a very legal, narrowly focused process that can't look at all of the issues. It can only look at this very, very narrow, limited view. And so I think, what SACOG is doing, what the county is doing, is meeting the legal requirements of that process. But it doesn't mean that we can't address the other issues outside of that process. Just because it isn't addressed here doesn't mean, I think Greg made that point earlier, that doesn't mean that we are not going to look at addressing those problems with SCT Link, with the county, with the city, and see if we can come up with some solutions to those issues. This just happens to be the process really isn't the best process to address those needs, unfortunately. It's just a very narrowly focused, legalistic process that doesn't really work very well in a lot of ways. And SACOG may disagree with that, but it's not really meant to address all of those things.
Yeah, I'm not going to disagree or not disagree. What I can say, though, that is very promising is the city of Galt once again had the highest attendance out of any of our hearings in the four-county area, including SAC-RT. And that's something to be proud about, that, the folks in this city really care.
We did. And we have met. Barbara and I have met with.
Right, and I know we started that dialogue, and so we'll continue to have that dialogue and see if we can address some of those concerns to improve the service in Galt. Because, like everybody said, there's a lot of expectations, there's a lot of demand, and people care deeply about it. As you could tell by the attendance we had at that meeting. So.
And I'm hoping that SACOG can work through our lawmakers to change that, so that it is more realistic.
We need your support.
You got it. But the thing is, it seems like the further you get away from the local people, the harder it is to get fair service and get our dollars spent correctly. So, and SACOG, I know, has a lot of influence. I'm hoping we can work on it from that direction as well. Are there any other comments from council members? If not, we will thank you for the report, and I'll see you Thursday. Oh, do you have any more to add? Okay.
Okay.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Greg, I think you also have the next item.
Contract change order for West Elm 4 Road widening, Goodland Landscape Construction.
Now, we're just receiving this report. We don't need to vote on it or anything, correct?
this is being presented for just informational as to the project. Unless you really like what you see or really don't like what you see, we're willing to take some direction. Very exciting project.
Can you switch out mics first?
And we just want to bring it to council's attention. We've had a lot of public input recently, and so it's a good time to bring it forward and give an update. And I'm going to reintroduce Mr. Bill Forrest. He's a senior civil engineer in my department, and he is the project manager. He's going to present the report tonight.
I'm going to try the tie microphone for the first time. Good evening, Madam Mayor and council members. As mentioned, I'm Bill Forrest, with senior civil engineer with your Department of Public Works. I am the project manager overseeing the construction for the West Elm Ore Road widening CIP. In addition, I'm the project manager for the Walker Community Park Phase 1A construction, which is immediately to the west of the subject project. The two recommendations before you tonight are the following. Authorize the Director of Public Works to execute a contract change order in the amount of $242,357.59 to the contract with Goodland Landscape Construction Incorporated to construct the West Elm Ore Road widening improvements. And the second recommendation is increase the project appropriation in the amount of $98,000, I need my glasses, $557.59 as specified. In September of 2009, Goodland Landscape Construction was awarded the construction contract for the Walker Community Park Phase 1A. The original construction contract amount was $3,292,000. The roadway widening of West Elm Ore Road in front of the park was included in the original project scope for the park. City staff approached the Galt Joint Union Elementary School District about contributing to similar improvements in front of their Jeffrey Jennings school property that is between Walker Park and Sparrow Drive to increase the conductivity. We didn't include it in our work because at the time we were going to bid, we were concerned about the budget and where things were coming in. And so we didn't include it in our scope, and due to budgetary issues with the school district at the time, they declined to participate in doing the improvements in front of their property. In June of 2010, council approved the 2010-2015 capital improvement program, which included a new project, the West Elm Ore Road widening project. That was programmed with new Measure A money at a budget of $200,000. The reason why the new CIP was added is that the widening would enhance a safe vehicular, bicycle, and pedestrian access to the park from the existing subdivisions that are to the east, along Sparrow and West Elm. In September of 2010, Public Works executed a change order with Stantec, who is the designer of the park improvements, to prepare plans for the widening improvements. Once we had those revised plans in hand, we approached the park contractor, Goodland, for a number of reasons as they are outlined in your staff report before you. Goodland's proposal reviewed and compared to recent pavement construction projects in the city, as well as to the engineer's estimate that had been prepared, and their proposal cost was determined to be competitive, fair, and responsive. The required environmental review and clearance for the roadway widening was included in the environmental impact report completed for the combined Walker Park and what was referred to as the Quail Hollow Elementary School project. The project needs to acquire additional right-of-way for the widening from the school district. We are working with the school district And the latest update in regards to that matter is the district will be holding a public hearing as required by their educational code to grant the right-of-way on April 27th. We have in hand written permission from the school district to allow construction to begin of the West Elm Ore Road widening. Excuse me. Financial impact, there's a direct fiscal impact associated with the contract change order amount of $242,357.59 as a result of the recommended action before you. Additional funds are being requested to provide for inspection and testing services, as well as a contingency for a total amount of $282,357.59. As mentioned previously, the original budget for the project was 100% funded from new Measure A. The city receives traffic congestion relief fund revenue, and we received allocation in fiscal year 09-10. We had brought forward the West Elm Ore Road widening project, and it is eligible for funding by the TCRF. The city also has an obligation to spend the TCRF funds by June 30th of 2011, or potentially we could lose the allocation in future allocations. Utilizing TCRF will reduce the new Measure A funding for the project in the amount of $103,537.01. Any unspent testing, inspection, or contingency funds will return to the Measure A fund balance. These savings in Measure A can be reprogrammed for other transportation projects or related administrative cost abatements. The staff report goes into two alternatives to the council. One would be to go out to a competitive bid process. That is not recommended for the additional costs of preparing a separate competitive bid, as well as the time as indicated for the required expenditures. The other alternative would be to fund this change order strictly with Measure A funds. The problem there is that, as indicated, we're expected to spend the funds by the end of this fiscal year, and we don't have another eligible project really available to you. That concludes my presentation. I'm available to answer any questions.
Questions?
Yes, I have one, believe it or not.
Go ahead, Councilman Cruz.
I read your report, and it's very thorough. Thank you. I do have one question. I posed it to Jason, but I'll go ahead and pose it to you as well. Why aren't we doing anything with the north side of Ore Road? I realize there are other things that have to be dealt here as far as right-of-ways and such, but why do a job halfway?
The reason why is when Walker Park was annexed into the city, the annexation goes to the center line. So the north side of Elm is actually still within Sacramento County.
But is it not still within our sphere of influence?
Yes.
It's within our sphere of influence, but we don't typically spend our city money outside of our sphere. Outside the city limits, excuse me. We did the same thing with a lot of the pedestrian crossings down. We just completed the ones on Elm, between the railroad tracks and the Amador. We did the sidewalk on the south half. We did not do anything on the north half. Again, county did not want to participate in a project to help us with that. And so we were trying to specifically provide access to the park, a link between the park and the residential areas. That's what we decided on the south half, and the project fit the funding availability.
I understand what you're saying, but we don't spend the money there.
Right.
It's not in the city.
Well, when a project like this comes up, do you talk to the county and say, we've got funding here to put half of the road down, can you do the other half, or do you have,
Yes, we routinely communicate with the county. They are in the same funding issues that we have. Typically, projects like this would be developed in conjunction with the development of the property. That's why the school district is granting us the right-of-way, because they typically would have been conditioned to build the improvements when and if they ever built a school. That was in us. We don't ordinarily go out and use city funds to build this type of improvement. In this particular case, because of the exchange of the right-of-way at zero cost, the fee right-of-way, versus the cost of the improvements, that was a fair exchange, plus the great community benefits with the opening of the park, trying to provide for safe access.
On one side of the street.
On the side of the street where the majority of the population, we believe, would come from, yes.
Is there any danger in losing the Measure A money? Do we have any time?
No, there's no danger in using the Measure A money, and we will reprogram the Measure A money in the current budget relative to other projects or to backfill the abatement for administrative costs.
Okay. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Mr. Halliday, can I ask you one question? The road going, or Bill, one of the two, going westbound to turn left into the park, is that going to be alleviated as far as making room for somebody to stop there waiting on traffic coming at them from the west? I'm thinking about Raynard is what I'm thinking about. They're trying to turn into the park. Is that going to be fixed by some means?
Yes, there will. With the road widening,
Yeah.
a left turn pocket into the park will be provided. That was actually one of the, when we were going through design review with the various departments, that was one of the requests. But at the time, since we weren't doing the widening in front of the school, there frankly wasn't enough pavement real estate to add a turn. But since we're doing that widening in front of the school district, that creates opportunity to create a left turn pocket.
Great, thank you.
Any other comments? If not, I would entertain a motion. What's your pleasure?
I move to accept
The recommendation?
And I'll second.
The motion.
Okay. City clerk will repeat the
motion.
The motion.
To authorize the Director of Public Works to execute a contract change order in the amount of $242,357.59 to the contract with Goodland Landscape Construction Incorporated to construct the West Elm Ore Road widening improvements and increase the project appropriation in the amount of $98,557.59.
Okay, we had a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Vice Mayor Powers? Aye. Councilmember Singleton?
Aye.
Councilmember Shelton?
Aye.
Councilmember Cruz?
Abstain.
Mayor Payne?
Aye. Motion carried 4-0. One abstention. Okay. Okay, we will move on to where? Where are we? The strategic plan update. And we're going to have a power presentation that was a suggestion of Councilman Shelton, which
And
I
the
appreciate.
staff loved, right? Sorry. It's easier, I think, for all of us to follow.
Yeah, it is. And it's easier for me to explain it, too.
Yeah.
Does it not work?
Okay.
Turn it on.
Turn it on.
Very good. Thank you, Greg.
There you go.
Okay, we're reporting to the public and to each other our progress with our strategic plan that we put together at a team building meeting some time ago. January 11th, 2011, I think, was the time. And with that, we will move forward to the first slide. The 3-year goal, enhance economic development. As you can see, we're under the column that says status. All of those items are done. In fact, they were completed at the last council meeting, so I won't read each one of them. Just know that they're completed, unless anyone has any questions on them. If not, we will move on to the next one, which is the 3-year goals, attract, develop, and retain quality staff. Item number 5. determine the feasibility of an inter-department job shadowing program and make a presentation to the city manager for direction. Their first committee meeting has been postponed to, April 26th. So at this point, there's no change. The other items, 6 and 7, they are on target. Item number 7, I'm going to look at that. Assess organizational staffing needs and develop recommendations to balance full-time and regular and seasonal part-time employees. Parks and Recs is the department that is currently working on that item, but all departments will be looking at it in the future. So some progress is being made. But everything is on target at this point. The next item, or the next goal, improve financial stability and maintenance of reserves. Item number 8, the lead was the city assistant city manager. Develop a process for identifying programs and services that benefit individual users versus the community at large. Would you explain that to me, that you did such a good job? Maybe you would do it for everybody. And
I would be happy to.
Okay, thank you.
We're developing, that will come back to council for approval, is a tool to use in helping to determine how to allocate resources. And we're creating definitions of a community benefit versus an individual benefit, and even a hybrid combination, community individual benefit. Example, a community benefit would be one that benefits all members of the city of Galt, whether they're currently using that service or not. 2 examples would be police patrol services. Even if you don't need a police officer at that moment, you still benefit by having a patrol out there. Also, well-maintained parks. Even if you don't use a park, you benefit because property values are increased by well-maintained parks. A direct benefit would be a program or service that really just benefits the user. A very simplistic example would be if you take a dance class. Well, just that person is receiving that benefit. So then, based on this philosophy, the person would pay the full cost of that service because they're the only ones benefiting. You could have a combination. An example would be if a adult softball tournament was conducted that was going to last the weekend. The participants they're the ones receiving a direct benefit. The physical part only benefits them, and so they would pay the full fee to get into the tournament. There is a partial community benefit if those people spend money in town and help our economic development, and that becomes a community benefit. So that's a hybrid. Department heads, we are currently working on a definition that will come back to City Council for review and approval. We also are working on a list of all programs and services with an initial designation of are those services a community benefit, direct benefit, or a combination. That is the piece that will take time eventually. The definition, we can be ready in pretty short order to bring a draft forward for the council.
And we have a target date of May 3rd. Do you feel like we'll be able to meet that?
We will meet that as far as the department heads accomplishing their work. The objective of the goal was to develop a process. We'll have that done. We'll return to council after the May 3rd date, but we still will have met the objectives.
Okay. And until that is completed, some of the other items up there really can't move forward. Like I think the next one, item 9, would be.
We're actually working concurrently to accomplish all 3 of these objectives.
Okay. And according to the report, they are on target for their completion dates. Item 10 did not give a completion date. It's just out there possibly beyond the 6 months prediction. Okay, let's go to the next one. Increase community engagement. The first 2 are indicated as complete. Number 13, facilitate a town hall meeting for citizens to meet and learn about city reps and departments. That's moving along very well. I've been working with both the elementary school district and the high school district, as well as our city clerk, who's worked very hard to put together, we hope, an excellent program on May the 9th. It'll be at McCaffrey Middle School. We're really wanting the whole community to turn out for that. One of the highlights will be to present a youth master plan, and that's something that's pretty unique to this community and something we've actually been working on, believe it or not, for 6 years, off and on. Our hope is that during these times when we have so many challenges, that we can bring the community together at that meeting to show that we have some things to be excited about, we have some things to be proud about. We're looking to the future, believing that things are going to get better. For example, the Youth Master Plan. The city will be sharing their plans with economic development. The elementary school board will be there, as well as the high school board. As you know, they have a lot of challenges, and I think the community will be interested to be able to participate in what direction the schools are going in. And I think that's something that we all have a concern with in our hearts for our young people that only have one chance for an education. So we're hoping we can make the most of a situation that we have now with the economic downfall to come through this with some hope, some enthusiasm. The other item, the community calendar, I think it's pretty well complete. I checked with Dave Herberger of the Galt Herald, and we're getting quite a bit of use of that from the schools as well as the nonprofits posting their events. This one place where you can go if you're planning an event and see how many other things are happening, because it's been a problem in the past. Small community like this, if we have too many community events planned at the same time, then they compete with one another and they're less successful. So I think that's moving along really well. In fact, I would say it is complete, and someone said that for me. Item 14, the business fair, and that's going to be the opening day for our farmers market. And we've decided to have it on May the 5th. So we're going to use kind of a theme of Cinco de Mayo, which all my Spanish friends make fun of the way I pronounce it. But we want it to be a festive thing. We'll have the farmers market there with all their fruits and vegetables, and sort of keep in contact with the east side. You know, we've had so much on the west side, we want to take some things over there. So this will be at the community park. Should be a great day with lots of new fresh vegetables and a good time as well. We're inviting our vendors to come and set up and let the people in town know that they exist and what their services are. All of this hopefully will lead to a better economy for our little town. That's the ultimate goal. So I think we're doing pretty well with that goal. And the next one, provide services and facilities responsive to community needs. Item 15 is completed. It was completed, I believe, even at the last report. Thank you, Public Works Director. The item number 16 was in regards to the unmet transit needs. We had a lively discussion on that tonight, and hopefully we'll move forward and get the money to Galt like Greg is hoping we do quickly. Don't delay it too much. Item 17, Parks and Recs Director with input from the Youth Commission and the Parks and Rec Commission. Actually, the Youth Committee, that's the City Council Youth Committee, have presented an excellent PowerPoint to the Parks and Rec Commission, and they will be presenting that to the City Council on May 3rd. Item 18, it has the ribbon cutting for Walker Park. We have a target date of June 25th. Not sure if that's going to happen at that time. The weather has delayed us quite a bit, so that's kind of up in the air, but we're going to do our best. And that concludes my report. City Manager, anything I missed?
Sounds
If
good.
not, the
No,
next
you did a
item
good job. Thank you.
is all yours.
Very good. The next item is the capital improvement program update. We come back to the City Council on a quarterly basis to provide the council as well as the community with information about the numerous capital projects that we have going on in the city. A lot of them are evident if you drive around our community. A lot of things are going on. We're seeing a lot of activity, particularly in the last week or two on the Central Interchange project and some other ones going on around town. There's a lot of interest in that. This information is on our website, particularly the big projects. We also have information about the Central Interchange that's updated regularly on our website, and some of the other larger projects like our Central Corridor project and Walker Park and so forth. So if people want more information, they can go to the website and get that. I won't go through it. There's about 38 projects in the current year, so I'm not going to go through all the projects. Maybe just a few highlights. I already did talk about the Central Interchange project. They're making good progress on that. As you can, if you drive over the overpass, you can see the work that's going on there. There's potentially some rain this week. We've had a lot of rain recently, but hopefully we'll see continued progress on that. The other one that we've spent a lot of time on recently is the Central Corridor and the railroad property project. We've had a couple of community meetings. We had a stakeholder meeting. We had a meeting with the Parks and Rec Commission and the Planning Commission last week, and then this will be coming back to the City Council in May, and some great ideas for improvements on C Street, Lincoln, and the railroad property. We just got some good news from the railroad. We're looking at solidifying a lease agreement for that property, moving forward with that, so that's positive news. As far as other projects, we already mentioned the Walker Park project. The synthetic turf was recently installed, so if you haven't had a chance to drive by there, take a look. It's looking really good. It's coming along fantastically, and want to compliment Public Works staff and others involved in that project. There's a lot of activity going on out there that's exciting to see. Some other projects coming soon include things like the 8th Street Lincoln Flashing Crosswalk project near the high school to improve pedestrian safety. We talked tonight about the West Elmore Street widening project. If you look through here, you'll just see a variety of projects coming forward. The Quiet Zone project, that study is going to be coming forward to the council here really soon. We're finalizing contract negotiations with the consultant. A lot of water and wastewater projects going on to improve the infrastructure of our community. So we have a very ambitious capital improvement program. We're proud that things are moving forward in a good way, and I think that's about it. Like I said, if anybody has any specific questions about any of these projects, we're here. We're happy to answer them. And if the community wants to know, they can also come and talk to us or go online and find more information on there as well.
Questions?
I'd like to say something. You guys have a lot on your plate, and I think that you should be commended for all the work you're doing and for the enthusiasm that you show for making the city a better place. There's a lot of things that you guys are working on, a lot of things you can see getting done all around town, and I think everybody should be excited about that. It's a big plus for the town, and I just want to give you guys some kudos on that, because I know you work very hard. I know it's your job, but you work above and beyond.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Any other comments? Then we will move on to the next item, Culture and Recreation Department.
New 4th of July community event beginning 2012.
Mayor Payne and members of the City Council, at your meeting of March 1st, 2011, City Council decided that the City Council would lead a new event for the Galt community over the 4th of July holiday. You further directed staff to come back with some ideas, some parameters, recommendations for your consideration. You have the report in front of you. The main recommendation is that a 7-member community committee be formed to help plan this. Per the council direction that this event would begin in 2012. We are recommending the 7-member community committee. We are further recommending that one city council member be on the committee, 1 Parks and Recreation member be on the committee, and 5 at-large members from the community. We feel that it's important for the community group to lead this effort, and that for staff to play a support role just in the background. That way it remains a true community event. The fiscal impact is undetermined at this point because it depends on what plans are made. Once plans are made by the community group, staff would be working with that group. We would come back to the city council for recommendation for any additional resources if needed. And speaking of resources, we also are recommending that the city council take the lead in helping secure participation with community groups and service clubs, and to assist the committee in obtaining any financial or in-kind sponsorships to help defray the cost of that. Staff will be glad to provide basic setup and oversight that day and be present throughout the event. But again, we would rely on the community to provide the activities itself. So the recommendation is, and I want to clarify one, first of all, that the city council approve the proposal, and you notice the proposal does not talk about specifics that you have to do. It gives some ideas of typical celebrations, but that would be up to the committee. So you have a 3-pronged request for a recommendation. One is to approve the proposal for the event beginning 2012, to form a standing committee that would be subject to the Brown Act, but form a standing committee of the community members to plan this event, and 3, to appoint a city council member to the committee. And at this point, either myself or Boyce Jeffries would be happy to answer any questions.
Now, you're not asking for that tonight, right?
Excuse me?
You're not asking for an appointment to the committee tonight, right?
We are asking that the city council appoint a council member to serve on this committee.
Tonight.
The recommendation is that you appoint. The council certainly could decide to appoint at a future date. That would be at the will of the council.
Okay. You have a speaker sheet on this item?
Rich Sutherland?
Good evening. My name is Rich Sutherland. I'm treasurer of the Galt Festival. And I have a letter here. It was written to Barry Weiss, the assistant city manager, but I'll address as you all.
Excuse me, would you say if you live within the city? Or?
I live within the city, yes.
Okay, thank you.
This letter is in response to your letter dated April 12, 2011. Many things have happened in Galt since the Galt Festival sent a letter on February 1st for our annual approval. We sent this letter to the city in a timely manner, and we addressed all the concerns outlined in the city's letter sent to us on July 14, 2010. As a recap, we'll explain the festival board's concern. At the March 1st City Council meeting, an item was placed on the agenda by Councilwoman Powers that the city consider a festival for the citizens of Galt. Council voted 5-0 in favor of city staff looking into a festival. At no time was a proposed date ever mentioned until after the vote. Councilwoman Powers then said this year would be the last year for the Galt Festival. As you can guess, this was much of a surprise to the Galt Festival Board. The board was never approached by anyone from the city staff or the city council. The following day, March 2nd, the Galt Festival chairperson, Corinne Seeley, was asked to meet with Armando Salas, special events coordinator for the city of Galt. Joining him was Mr. Weiss, the assistant city manager. At that time, the festival chairperson was told this would indeed be the last year for the festival. For 52 years, the Galt Festival has been a non-profit organization whose sole purpose is to put on this yearly event for the citizens of Galt. Yes, it has had many modifications since it was once called the Clover Festival or the Dairy Festival. However, legally, it has always been the Galt Festival Incorporated. Like any organization, we have had both failures and successes. We currently feel very proud that we're able to put on this festival and still be able to donate to other local nonprofits who help with the festival's operation. Over the past 10 years, the Galt Festival has donated over $140,000 to local nonprofits. To name a few include Boy Scout Troops 238, PAC 84 and 24, City of Galt Youth Group, City of Galt 4-H, Herald 4-H Swine, Galt Chiefs, several churches, Rainbow Girls, Lions Club, and the Concilio. As you know, times change, and we have had to change with them. Councilwoman Powers mentioned at the March 1st meeting that there were other civic organizations who wanted to participate in the festival. The Galt Festival Board has never excluded any other nonprofit organization from participation, and we have never charged a fee to fellow nonprofits. Many local nonprofits count heavily on the Galt Festival as their yearly fundraiser. The stipulations placed on the Galt Festival Board this year have left us no choice but to officially withdraw our application from the city to put on the event this year. We will be unable to secure a carnival company contract with the new proposed hours the City Council and staff has proposed, nor will we be able to cover our cost of the event under such restrictions. This event has always been an evening event because of the extreme temperatures during the month of July. The board felt that an 11 p.m. close time was a compromise. It greatly saddens the festival board that the citizens of Galt won't have what they've had for the past 52 years. Hopefully things will change. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I have a copy of this letter for you.
Any other?
Nope, that's the only speaker sheet.
Any questions from council members? If not, I would entertain a motion. So,
Yeah, I have a comment. One is I thought that the present group was involved in the discussions. I know there's been some concerns whether it's going to be carried on or not. And I was under the impression that they were. And let me ask staff, well, I guess apparently I just heard from the finance director or whatever he is, and they have not been involved in it. In any discussions of the city taking over? Maybe I'm not stating my question right.
I could speak to that.
Sure.
The request came from the city council.
Sure.
And originated with city council. So then council directed us to come back with potential ideas.
Okay. Okay.
Can you explain, there was something said about restrictions this year. That didn't come from the council, correct? The restrictions came from Parks and Rec.
The restrictions came from staff, Parks and Recreation in conjunction with the police chief. We talked about the restrictions for hours and alcohol, and it was agreed that one, staying open later than 9 o'clock was not needed for a family or any community festival, and that 2, alcohol was not needed after 8 o'clock. And then we also asked the Galt Festival to shorten the parade route because of the impact on city resources.
Any other questions or comments?
I would just like a little more time to regurgitate this, personally. I mean, I know I just got this letter here from Parks and Rec, like yesterday when I picked up my mail, and maybe, you know, it can't be changed. Maybe council has decided this is the best, but my understanding was that we were going to start the committee to actually merge with the current organization, and those individuals can apply to be on the committee.
Yeah, they can apply to be on the committee. That's written here, and it isn't a taking over, it's just to go back to the way it used to be with a lot of nonprofits and community groups involved in it. It wasn't, that's the way it was brought up.
I think at this point we can either ask for a motion to approve it, or we can honor Councilmember Shelton's request to table it to the next meeting or further study.
You know, I don't want to really get into a big discussion with it tonight, other than is it gonna, let me ask the question without going into a big conversation, is it going to do any good for us staff to sit down with you and further the discussions?
No.
No, okay. Okay, I'm just asking.
Well, can I just,
Yeah. Yeah.
Excuse me.
You need to come up, Joanne.
You know that, Joanne.
What's going on, I don't know, did you miss the?
No, I was here.
Or what?
I was here.
Because all that was read was what went on March 1st, and they say they want to do
Joanne,
a festival next year.
would you?
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm Joanne Walters, and I live in Galt, and I'm on the Galt Festival Committee. We were asked to give our response, which that was our response because you made a lot of concessions that we cannot put up with this year. And we were also told that we will not be able to use your property to have the festival next year because you're going to be putting on a city event or festival or whatever. Nobody ever said anything about having a meeting with us to combine it. We asked the Parks and Rec and cities years ago if they would help us out and do it because we were having problems with volunteers and people, and they turned us down. So every year we've been doing it. This is a nonprofit. We give a lot of money to the nonprofits, and now they are all out losing their money. So I don't know what's going to happen with the city running it or doing it, but we are finished. We are not involved in it anymore, and we still have the name of Galt Festival Corporation, and our accounts are still open, and we still have our board. But we are not giving a festival this year. Whether we do something next year or what, we don't know. But as far as that, I gave you we gave the letters,
Sure.
and if it was he read it good, but if it was understood different, it states in there, you can read the packet. So there's no voting or anything going on it, and that's just it. It's done. Okay? Thank you.
I think what needs to be said is there are two different parts to this. One was the part of next year, but there were stipulations that, like Randy said, came from Parks and Rec. It didn't come from us.
Oh,
it's their rule. Well, I'm just telling you.
Don't you tell Parks and Rec what to do? I mean, we actually put our letter in for your approval. You never put us on the agenda. You never answered us back. We got a letter from Barry White there stating all these stipulations. And I don't want to go into it all, but there's no way that we can close at 9 o'clock at night or the beer garden at 8. We have a nighttime festival from 5 to midnight, and we don't have any problem with that. And nobody's going to be making any money if we have to close at 8 o'clock at night. You know, we have to pay a lot of people, and that's not going. They're not going to come if we have to, you know, have a festival for 3 hours. That's ridiculous. So, you know, that's the thing. I don't know who came up with those ideas, you or them, but we can't do that. So that's what we're doing. We're turning you down. We're not having a festival.
Thank you for your clarification.
Thank you.
Okay.
Barry needs to say something.
Okay.
Mayor Payne, I can add one other clarification, just tagging on to Councilmember Shelton's question. This letter that we sent out, and it was staff that put together these restrictions.
Sure.
And the letter dated April 12th, actually it was hand-delivered to the chairperson of the festival, and on that very same day I went over and saw the chairperson in person and said that my office was open at any point if she wished to discuss the letter or any of the contents.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
We have a recommendation. Would you read that?
I will.
Please, Liz.
Okay, approve the proposal for the new 4th of July community event beginning 2012 and appoint a city council member to serve on the 4th of July Celebration Community Committee.
And if I could add, and to form a standing committee. And I apologize for not making that clear in the recommendation. I did address it in the body. So it's 3 parts. Approve the proposal of a new community event, form a standing committee, and city council appoint a member to serve on it. And I think Mr. Rudolph will assist us also.
Okay.
Mayor, I'd recommend that you take it in 2 parts. That's your first motion that you'd entertain would be to approve the proposal for a new 4th of July community event and to form a 7-member standing committee for the July call this July Celebration Community Committee.
That's the second.
So that could be one motion, and then the second part would be to entertain an appointment of a council member to that committee.
And we can do that legally?
Yes, you can.
Okay, just want to be sure. Okay. You've heard the recommended motion. Do you all understand it? Do we need to repeat it?
Nope.
The first,
I think we get it.
okay, the first part was to approve the proposal and to form a 7-member committee as described, and then the second part is to appoint a council member to that committee.
That's correct.
Okay. Is there a motion?
For the first part?
We'll take the first part first, yeah.
Okay, well, I'll motion for the first part.
Thank you. Is there a second?
My second.
Let's do a roll call vote.
Sure.
Vice Mayor Payne? Or Vice Mayor
Aye.
Powers?
Aye.
Councilmember Singleton?
You just demoted me.
I'm sorry.
Aye.
Councilmember Shelton?
Before I vote, can I make a comment? Or do I do it afterwards?
Well, I mean,
Because I didn't get my comment in.
well, we're in the middle of the vote, so
Okay,
it wouldn't be
that's all right,
appropriate.
That's all right. Yes. I still have a comment later.
Your vote was yes.
Yes.
Councilmember Cruz?
Aye.
Mayor Payne?
Aye. Okay. Now then, for the second part, we need a nomination for a council member to be on this committee. Correct? Is that it?
That's a request from staff, yes.
Okay.
Do you want a nomination or do you just want somebody to?
I would like someone to volunteer for it.
Well, I guess I'm volunteering.
That's what I was looking at.
Okay. Now, do we need to approve that?
Yes.
Okay. Vice Mayor Powers has volunteered for this project. Is there a motion to approve this appointment?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
I think we could do this with just a, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? You have been appointed. Pardon me? Randy,
No,
do you
I
want to-
changed my mind.
No more.
No.
Okay, I think we are ready for redevelopment. We're ready to. Okay, any written communications from anybody? Okay, we will move on. We will adjourn to redevelopment agency.
Mayor?
Can I ask this a question of clarification?
Absolutely.
The recommendation was to form the committee for a celebration in 2012. Is that what was passed?
That's what's on the agenda.
Okay, great. So then for 2011, if the Galt Festival is not going to conduct a festival, then that will be a different topic. Great. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Okay, we are now in the redevelopment meeting. Roll call, please.
Board members Powers?
Present.
Singleton?
Here.
Shelton?
Aye.
Cruz?
Here.
Payne?
Here. Any public comments?
Have no speaker sheets?
Okay. Would you read the consent agenda, please?
Yes. Okay, sorry. 3 items. The first item, approval of the minutes of the special and regular meetings of April 5th, 2011. Number 2, approval of the redevelopment agency warrants. And number 3, authorization and approval of contract with Auto Temp Services for relocation assistance services for property acquisition in Old Town.
Is there a motion to approve the consent calendar?
Discussion first, just jump right into it. I motion we accept.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Discussion? Any discussion from council members? Councilman Cruz? I'm just asking, huh? Okay. We'll have a roll call vote.
Vice Mayor Powers?
Aye.
Councilmember Singleton?
Aye.
Councilmember Shelton?
Aye.
Councilmember Cruz.
Aye.
Mayor Payne.
Aye. We will adjourn from the redevelopment agency and reconvene to the regular city council meeting. City clerk's report.
Okay, couple items today. First before you is the return of the Measure R committee. We did go out and do some more advertising, received a few more letters, which are in your packet. So at this time, these appointments are by the entire city council.
No, go ahead.
And we have 3 vacancies, and before you, you have 5 letters of interest. So I would ask that the entire council give me 3 appointments.
Mayor, may I make a comment?
Absolutely.
Okay. It looks like we had like 5 individuals that applied, and I think every one of them would do a really good job for us. I would like to recommend John White, Tony Laura, and is it Francis Finelli? Okay. Steve and Mike are doing a great job for us now on our safety committee,
Yeah.
and that's my recommendation.
Okay. Let's see, we have a recommendation. Do we need to vote on this?
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys can just, I mean, if you want to change it, you can discuss it, and then I would prefer a vote.
Okay.
I'm totally fine with that. I was gonna recommend 2 of them anyway, so I'm
Any
fine
other
with that.
discussion, Councilman Singleton?
No.
Okay. We have a recommendation. Is there a motion to approve the recommendation that was made by Councilman Shelton?
So I think that was the motion. I think we just
Okay.
got a
That was the
second.
motion?
We need a second. I'll second.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so do we need a roll call vote? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? The appointments are approved.
Okay, next before you is also an item from the last meeting. And you all have in your packet a letter from Sacramento County stating that on December 14th, both the Sacramento County Board of Supervisors and the City Council agreed to the creation of a joint powers authority for homelessness. This authority will include all of the cities in Sacramento County, and they're looking for 2 appointments from us this evening, 2 council appointments.
City Council. And when are they meeting?
Well, their first meeting's on April 27th.
Yeah.
We did get a call today from somebody at the public from the county indicating that it was uncertain whether which cities would participate in this JPA, whether other elected officials would be part of it or not. So it seems to be sort of in flux as far as whether or not that meeting's even going to take place. But I would still recommend moving forward with the council appointing 2 members to that, and then as those issues are worked out, they can attend those meetings as needed in the future.
Are there any council members that would like to volunteer for this?
I would.
Okay, anybody else? Councilman Cruz and Vice Mayor Powers have volunteered for this.
Okay.
Is there a motion to approve their appointment?
I'll make the motion that we approve the 2 individuals, 2 council members that volunteered.
Is there a second?
And I will second it.
All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstention? They have been appointed.
Just a few reminders. The Beautification Committee meeting will be held at 3:30 on April 21st in the City Hall Community Room. On April 28th, the Commission on Aging meeting and the California Room at the Parks and Rec Department at 5:15. On May 2nd, there will be a Galt City Council Youth Committee meeting at 6 p.m. in the council chambers, and that will take us to our next meeting of May 3rd. Also a reminder, the Business Fair and Farmers Market on May 5th. The community gathering, building our community together on May 9th, and the household hazardous waste drop-off and the shredded event on May 21st. Wow. I know.
Good.
Wow. Okay.
Definitely.
And the back wall, if everyone notices, we have
Yeah.
all our prior council members on the wall now. We've had some issues with that, so
Okay.
in case anybody knows.
Anything else?
I'm done, thank you.
Comments by staff?
I have one. I wanted to let the council and the community know that Councilmember Singleton had the idea a few weeks ago about having council members, myself, go out and visit different businesses in our downtown, old town, east, west, different parts of the city, introduce ourselves, find out what needs there might be out there in the business community, and see if there are things that we could do to help address those. We visited, I think, 7 or 8 businesses along Lincoln and C Street. Very, very effective visits. Encourage other council members to get involved. Try to do that on a maybe a quarterly basis or more frequently as needed. But I thought it was a very successful and enlightening visit. Got some good feedback and comments from a lot of businesses.
Yep.
Good.
Very good.
Any other comments from staff?
Just have one with the council's indulgence. I want to welcome Justin Cassidy back from a year in Afghanistan, serving in the Army. Yeah.
I know you're happy, and I'm very happy for you. My grandson is in Afghanistan, and hopefully he'll be back in July, and I'll be happy to see him also.
And I have one ready to deploy.
Okay, ready for comments from council?
No, I've been beat up pretty much tonight. I have nothing to say.
Okay, yeah, I have a couple things. I would like to bring back staff and council to talk about hours of parking on Lincoln. We could look into that and increasing those somewhat.
And now on Lincoln, I believe
That would
between A and C, there's a 1-hour parking limit.
Yep.
Right, that
Yeah.
was changed, I think, several years ago, so you'd like us to look at
I'd like to
extending
look at
that
yes.
Beyond the 60 minutes.
Absolutely. I've also would like to have the Parks and Rec staff, I want to look at the possibilities of doing a Music in the Park event for our town. And hopefully this will be a yearly thing. I've heard it do good things in Sacramento and other cities throughout California, and it's a great way, I think, to bring the community together, and hopefully we can do that, bring our both east and west side together on that.
That's a great idea.
I've also want to let you know that Mayor Payne and I attended the 12th annual Sacramento County Attorney, District Attorney Outstanding Citizens Award on the 15th, and it was sponsored by John Scully's District Attorney's Office, and she was the one giving out the Outstanding Service Accommodation, recognizing citizens who contributed to the public safety through their service as a volunteer, advocate, or community leader. And I'll try to go through this quickly. This is a little long, and I know people are getting late, but it's worth mentioning. The 6 people, just briefly, bless you. One of them was Dee Sova. Her daughter was struck and killed by a drunk driver, and she's now a speaker for MAD, devoting her time to the story, to tell her story to people at the DA's. They got a program called Real DUI Court in school. The other one was Maria Contreras, who was attacked by her husband with a claw hammer while she was sleeping and hit repeatedly in the head. The husband escaped to Mexico, but returned a year later only to show up at her new residence and shot her in the chest and 2 more times in the back of the neck as she turned to run. Susan, Joseph, and Jordan Tapia, they owned a Subway shop where they were held up by a man who handed Susan a note saying that he had a gun and demanded money. Susan refused, or Suzanne, I'm sorry, and her husband ran after the suspect when he fled, only to catch up and detain the individual long enough for police to arrive. The 4th one was John and Guadalupe Hobson. They witnessed a suspect get hit. That was I'm sorry. Let me take that back. Witnessed somebody get hit on a bicycle, and then they dragged the victim underneath their vehicle. Guadalupe stopped to help the victim while Jonathan followed the driver to a stoplight, and while stopped at that stoplight, got out, and he pulled the keys away from the driver and waited for police to arrive. John Edward Harris witnessed a blind woman get struck in the head with a log while waiting for a bus in front of his house. Mr. Harris chased down the suspect through Oak Park while on the phone with 911 operator, updating his location. Mr. Harris finally flagged down a police officer and gave officers a detailed statement and identified the suspect at a preliminary hearing, at the trial, and at the sentencing. He appeared at all those. And after all that, after being threatened by the suspect that he was going to get hurt when this guy said he got out, he was going to come after the guy. The last one was Cindy Hammond, who was beaten by her boyfriend, living boyfriend, in a drunken rage. He had sexually assaulted her, tortured Cindy for hours. He broke her neck after he flipped her over and assaulted her again as she lay helplessly on the floor. She laid on the floor all night before persuading the suspect to call an ambulance by promising that she would claim a stranger assaulted her. I mention these people because they should be honored for their strength, will to survive, and commitment to their community. I also like to thank these people for sharing their stories, also Jan Scully at the District Attorney's Office for honoring these individuals. And that's it.
Thank you. Councilman Shelton?
Yes, I went to that twice while I was mayor, and it is very, very moving.
Absolutely.
And thanks for sharing that. You took that to a much higher level. I really appreciate that. Yeah, but it is well worth it. If you get the opportunity, you're invited to go to that, even if it's just one time. That's all.
Thank you. Councilman Cruz?
Nothing for me.
Nothing? First of all, I would like to acknowledge Lieutenant Updegrove, who is with us tonight. Nice to see your face. And also talk a little bit more about the community gathering called Building Our Community Together. CSD will be there. Sorry, I didn't mention it earlier, as well as County Supervisor Don Natoli. And the library will also be there. You'll have representation from the whole community. So I would suggest Tea Party, show up. Let us hear from you. I'm hoping that it will be a real positive. Okay. The city clerk is providing hot dogs and food for us also.
There you go. That's all you need.
She wanted me to mention that. So, come and meet the people that you have elected to represent you, and I will even feed you for that. So anyway, again, I invite you all, mark your calendar for May the 9th for that. We keep it's 6 to 8 at McCaffrey. And then I would also mention that I attended the Criminal Justice Cabinet meeting this past week, and it's for mayors. I know Councilman Shelton attended. And I have to say, Randy, you were in the back of my mind when I attended that from your last comment concerning how sometimes the criminals are on the street too much. And one of the things that they proposed, and by the way, this is made up of judges, all these people, DAs, all the people, parole officers, they're the ones that pretty much decide what happens after the police arrest them. The police can only go so far. And one of the things that bothered me is they're proposing to have more home detention, and it's probably driven by the budget. But if that's the stick that we use to try to keep people from getting involved as criminals, it didn't seem like a big stick to me, and I have voiced my opinion as usual. Okay, the other thing I wanted to say, thank you, for the extravaganza, thank you everybody. Again, our CSD were there. They led the parade with the fire truck, lights and bells, and it was fun. All the volunteers that worked on it, the Chamber of Commerce, thank you. We had so many children that we're going to have to get the Easter Bunny to do a better job in laying eggs next year, because we nearly ran out. The good thing was we had a guest Easter Bunny, and this was a citizen that just dressed up in this fabulous Easter Bunny costume and was just having the best time. Again, this is a great community, and we had a good time. let's see, the other thing was what? I think I've covered everything. So unless anybody has anything else to say, I say let's go home and go to bed. Let's look forward to future, and I'll see you guys at the community gathering on the 9th.
Keep talking.
And
I need 15 more seconds. Otherwise I lose the bet.
We are officially adjourning the meeting at 9:29 and 45 seconds.